Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm here today to show you how to make the neat ripple pattern. This is a blanket pattern by Attic24. This is not my own pattern, but this is a video to go alongside the pattern that Heather has written. Now, there are two ways that you can start your chain for this kind of project. I do it the way that doesn't need any counting currently. So the way I'm going to start this project is I'm going to make a chain, but I'm just going to do it by eye. I'm not actually counting my chains at all. So I'm just making a chain and I'm going to make it probably, well, I don't know, dishcloth kind of size I suppose. But I'm not counting, I'm just eyeballing how big it's going to be. A little bit bigger I think. The reason I do this is because I really often get distracted while I'm counting and just totally lose count. So the thought process behind it is that I will make a chain that is slightly longer than I think I'm going to need, and then when I work into my chain with my first row, I'll continue until I've hit the right point in terms of the pattern, and then I'll have a few left, and it's very easy to then remove a couple of chains at the end, or it can be possible to add new chains, although I've not had to do that before because I always just tend to go a little bit over what I think I might need. So I do it by eye. I mean, I'm definitely not going to crochet anything this long today while I'm sat with you, but I've just made a chain because I know that I can crochet the first line of this pattern until I get to the point where it's long enough, and then I will just ignore the remainder of the stitches that I don't need for now, and then when I'm finished I can just undo them. There is, on this pattern, there is a way to calculate how many chains you need, but I don't have the copy of the pattern with me currently, so I'm just going to do this from memory. I'll pop on the screen what the pattern recommends. If you'd rather count your chains and know exactly how many you had, that's totally fine. Yeah, I'll pop the numbers on the screen so you're able to work that out. The way this pattern starts is at the beginning of every row there are always 2 trebles in one stitch. So my first 3 chains are going to count as my first treble. So then in the 4th chain from the hook, I'm going to make my first treble. So in this hole in the chain down here, I currently have 1 treble that I've just made and 1, 2, 3 chains. But my 3 chains count as a treble. So that is the same as having 2 trebles in the same hole, which is also known as an increase when you're using treble crochet. So this is an increase. There are 2 trebles in the same stitch here. I'm now going to do 4 trebles, 1 in each stitch as we work along the chain. So 1 in this chain, 1 in the second chain, 1 in the 3rd chain, and 1 in the 4th chain. So we've got the first 2 that are all in the same hole here, which is 3 chains and a treble, which is the same as having 2 trebles in that first chain here. And then there's 1 in this one, there's 1 treble in this one, there's 1 treble in this one, and then a 4th one here. So that's 4 trebles in a row. Now because this part is the increase, this is going to be the upward slope of our ripple. We've now reached, so yeah, I'm going to call it the peak. So this is going to be one of the peaks, but it's actually going to be a half peak, and that will make more sense in a minute when I show you the repeating pattern. I've done 4 trebles in a straight line, and now we're going to try and get our work to turn a corner, and it's going to do that sort of trough and turn upwards. And the way we do that is we're going to do 2 decreases. Now this is called a treble 2 together. We're going to do this twice. Now I'm going to show you this step by step. I'm going to yarn over like I'm going to make a normal UK treble and pop my hook into the stitch. I'm going to pull my yarn through. So I've got 3 loops on my hook, which is normal for a UK treble. I'm going to wrap my yarn around, so yarn over and pull it through the first 2 loops there. So I've got basically half of a UK treble. And now normally I'd just wrap my yarn around and put it through the other 2 loops, but I'm not going to do that because I'm trebling 2 together. So I'm basically going to forget that I've got half a stitch on my hook, and I'm going to wrap my yarn over and pop it into the next stitch, and I'm going to make another half version of a treble. So I'm going to wrap my yarn over and bring it through. You'll notice now that we've got more loops on a hook, and that's okay. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 again. So now we're back to having 3 loops. We've got 2 of these short stitches on our hook, and that's the start of 2 trebles. We're going to treble them together, so we're going to yarn over and pull through all of those loops. So you can see now that these stitches are in different chains at the bottom of the work, but they've all ended up onto this one loop here. So we've got 2 trebles together as one. So that's our first decrease, and this pattern requires us to do it twice in a row here. So yarn over, and you can see that this stitch goes into this chain here, so we're going to move into this chain. So we're going to start our first treble here, yarn over and hook in, and we're going to pull our yarn through, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So we've started a treble, but now we're going to pause and we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, and we're going to do the same thing again where we pull our yarn through, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So again, we've got the beginning of 2 treble crochets here, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that's 2 decreases. They're 2 treble 2 togethers. So you can see one here, there's separate stitches at the bottom but together at the top, and again here, separate stitches at the bottom but together at the top. So we've got 2 treble 2s together. We're now going to carry on and do 4 normal trebles. That will form the straight part of our ripple. So 1 treble. So we're just going to move over and put 1 in each stitch for the next 4. So that's 2 that I've done. 3. 4. So these ones down here, this was one of our treble 2 togethers, and that was a treble 2 together, and since then we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 normal trebles. And can you see now when I lie this flat that it's a bit of a U shape? So our decreases down here have made the stitches looser at the bottom but tighter at the top, which has turned our work this way. So this is going to be one of the peaks up here, this is the trough, and we're now heading up to another peak. Now the way that we do a peak is the opposite to the treble 2 togethers which we've just done, and that is in the next chain down here we're going to put 2 trebles in the same hole. So that's one that I've just done there, and I'm going to go back into that same hole with a second treble. So can you see there that the 2 stitches are both in the same hole? So that's 2 trebles in 1 stitch, and I'm going to repeat that in the following stitch. So we're going to do 2 trebles in each stitch twice. Okay, so these 4 here are our normal 4 straight trebles, and then we've got 2 pairs of 2 stitches in the same hole. Okay. Once that we've done our increase, we're going to go back and do our 4 normal trebles again, 1 in each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll put it down again. So again, now you should be able to see this is the trough here where we had 2 of the decreases, and this part here, these are the 2 increases. So effectively every time we do treble 2 together, we do it twice and it bends the work upwards like a smiley face, and then when we do 2 trebles in the same stitch twice, it bends it round this way, the opposite way. And all we're going to do is just carry on alternating. We do 4 normal trebles, and then we're going to do our decrease, and then we're going to do 4 normal trebles and then our increase, and that's the whole process that we're going to follow all the way along. So obviously it can be as long or as short as you want it to be. I'm going to show you again. So we've done our 4 normal trebles here. We're now at the trough again, and it's time to do a decrease. So we're going to yarn over and into the first stitch, pull through our yarn. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So we've got half a treble crochet in there. We're now going to yarn over and move into the next chain. We're going to do the same thing again. So yarn through, and we're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So we've got 2 of these treble crochets that are half started, and we're going to wrap our yarn around and pull through all of the loops. So that's our first decrease, and we're going to do the same again. So yarn over and into the next stitch and pull our yarn through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, and we're going to start the same again. So yarn over and into the next stitch and pull the yarn through. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So here we have the 2 half started stitches, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that's another decrease we've done there. And now when we add our 4 normal trebles, they're going to go upwards. So this is the bottom of our trough, and it's going to turn the work to face upwards, and we're going to go back up the slope. So hopefully you'll be able to see that now. So this is the decrease we've just done, where we've done a treble 2 together here and a treble 2 together here, and it's turned our work upwards again. Now what I'm going to do, this is what I meant earlier by having more chain left, but for the purpose of today's tutorial I'm actually going to stop crocheting here and show you how we would finish this if this was the end of our row. So we start at this point, we would normally be ready to do an increase, so in the next hole we would be putting 2 trebles in the same stitch, which I'm going to do, but we want the sides of this blanket or face cloth or whatever we're making to be square. So what I'm actually going to do is stop there, and we always finish with just treble 2 together once. We always stop with 2 trebles in the same space, but only once. When we're in the middle of the pattern, we do it twice because otherwise it doesn't bend enough to turn it in the other direction. But we want our edges to be straight here, and can you see that if these 2 stitches here, these are the 2 trebles in the same hole. There's one here and one here. But actually, if I were to square it off right between the 2, it would be square. And that's exactly why the pattern asks you at the edges to stop where you have 2 trebles in the same stitch, but you don't do that a second time. So we've ended our row and started our row with 2 trebles in the same stitch. So now we're going to ignore this excess chain down here and just pretend it's my loose tail, and I'm going to turn my work and work back along the second row. Now, as with any treble crochet work, we're going to start with 3 chains, and that counts as our first treble, but we always want to start our row with 2 trebles in the same hole. So this counts as one of them, and we're going to make the second treble in that same hole. So that is 2 trebles in the same stitch in this one here. We're now going to do our 4 straight trebles. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's our 4 straight trebles. And now we're at our trough, so we need to do a decrease here. And what we're going to do is exactly the same as before. So we're going to wrap our yarn over and into the stitch. We're going to pull our yarn through. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So we've got a half made treble crochet. I'm then going to do the same in the next stitch. So yarn over and into the stitch and pull through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So we've got 2 half started stitches, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that's our first decrease. You can see there how clearly they're sat in different stitches in the row below, but they've ended up on the same loop up here. So that is a treble 2 together. And we need to do that twice. So yarn over and into the stitch and pull through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And again the next stitch, yarn over and into the stitch and pull through, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So we've got 2 half finished stitches, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 2 loops. That is that corner turned. We're now going to do 4 straight trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 trebles, just one next to each other, and then In this next stitch we're going to do 2 trebles in the same stitch. So 1 and then back in the same hole for number 2. So that's the first increase, and we do that twice. So back into the next stitch we're going to make 2 trebles in the same hole again here. Now we're going to do our 4 straight crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're now back down at our trough, so it's time to do a decrease. I'm going to do a yarn over and into the stitch, pull through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, that's half. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through the first 2. So that's 2 half made stitches, and yarn over and pull through both. So that's our first decrease there, and I'm going to do the same again. So that is 2 treble 2 together sat next to one another. And now we're going to do our 4 normal trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 trebles all in a straight line there. And now this chain here is our final stitch. So up into the very top of that 3rd chain that was our turning chain, I'm going to do 2 trebles, and that is the half of what we would normally do as an increase. So normally we would do 2 trebles in the same stitch and we'd do it twice, but because this is the end of our row I'm only going to do it once. So 2 trebles in the same hole, and that is half of the normal increase pattern. And again, now I'm going to light out for you. We're going to ignore the fact that I have excess chain on the end, and you can see there that the edges are straight, and you can clearly see we've got half a peak here, we've got a full trough, a full peak, a full trough and another half peak. So we're always going to start and end on a half peak, and this pattern just continues. So we will now turn the work and do the same again. So we're going to start with 2 trebles in the same hole, which will actually be 3 chains and then a treble. We're going to do our 4 straight treble crochets. We're going to do 2 decreases, 4 trebles, 2 increases, 4 trebles, 2 decreases, 4 trebles, and then we're going to end with our 2 trebles in the same hole.